people here.
Woo.
We should be live now. All right, everything is kind of connecting through right now. I'll give it about 10-15 seconds to make sure everything is going through the way it should. Looks like it still has to really think about it. All right, looks like my preview is matching what's actually happening now. And then we'll get the lesson going. Today's a little different. Did kind of like a project day per request, and I thought that'd be super fun. Hey, Terry says, sounds good, looks good. Fantastic, that's what I want. All right, so welcome to the 15th or 16th lesson. I can't remember, 16th lesson. And today I'm going to be doing a little walkthrough of how to do a bunch of different pieces of clothing. I'll do a whole separate one for armor, because armor is a whole different beast. Same thread, but I've noticed that organic clothing is a lot more gentle. It's a bit more forgiving when you're working. So yeah, I have this girl on the screen here mainly because it's the most recent model I finished, but also because she has a lot of really interesting stuff going on. So I'm going to show you guys all the different techniques that I do to make all these different pieces and stuff. So let's get going. All right. And this is a bit more of a casual one. It's not like a direct lesson per se. It's more of like you guys ask questions throughout instead of waiting until the end. So yeah, Honest Abe and Michael Clute says, ooh, Dragonborn. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import a just base body here. I will grab the same one that I give to you guys. This is just in the ZBrush files here. Got base meshes. As I mentioned before, I did not make these, actually. I have my own. They're just modified. This is from Bad King or something. I can't remember. All right, I'm going to change my matte cap, something that actually looks nice. And there we go. I'm going to divide this a few times. Very nice. So I do have a custom UI, but everything I will be doing, or I'm pretty sure everything, will just be in the subtool menu here. So that's the same as the custom UI. If I click anything that is down here, which is my custom UI, I'll make sure to like talk about it and explain like why I'm doing that. All right, so I think the first thing I'm gonna do, just do a little demo for, is I'll just do a shirt, because then from the shirt, that's also how I make dresses, and I'll explain that in a second. All right, the whole process of making clothes, it's kind of like this 3-step process. You mask what you want, you extract it, then you remesh. That's kind of the process that just happens again and again and again. So I'm just gonna mask off oh, I have the wrong masking pen. Here we go, this is the default for you guys. Just hold Control and drag a box, and there you go. Obviously this is a little bit too high up her neck from what I want, so if I hold Control and Alt, I can go ahead and make this look nicer. You don't have to worry about being super smooth because you're gonna sculpt out those details later. Alrighty, there we go. So once you have your area masked out for whatever piece of clothing that you want, you're going to make sure you delete your subdivision levels if you do have them. And then just click on Extract under your subtool menu here. So it's going to default to 0.02. I like to do 0 thickness because it gives me more flexibility when sculpting. I don't have to worry about the mesh like tearing through itself or anything like that, and I can add thickness later. Also, the fewer polygons, the better. So whenever you click Extract, just gives it a little preview. It's not actually happening, so when I click around, it just disappears. Make sure you click Extract and then click Accept, and then it'll actually be there. So as you can tell, you can't see the shirt at all, and that's because it's laying perfectly flat on her body. So let's go to Transform, and let's go to Solo. So now I just see the shirt. If I hold Shift F, I can see the poly grouping here, and I want this to be even more simplified. So I will go to Geometry, Z-Remesher, click on half, and then click Z-Remesher. This is just going to simplify the topology even more. See how there's like these weird poly groupings on her breasts? If I try and smooth that out, it will smooth them to a point, which is not what I want unless I'm doing some like classic 50s style dress, I guess. When it's smoother like this, it'll be a lot easier to just smooth out. Otherwise, it will kind of cluster and look odd. So I'll keep clicking Z-Remesher here till I get where I want. Kat says, I decided to take a break from work and watch Mia sculpt and work on my turtle a bit at the same time. That sounds like a good evening. Alright, so this is looking pretty simple here. I'm just going to keep clicking it till it's pretty much as like simple and as basic as possible. There we go, that's looking pretty basic. So kind of a thing here, I want to clean up these edges a little bit, see how they look really rough. If you try and smooth them by default, ZBrush tends to not want to do it. See, it's kind of just reacting weirdly. It's kind of hard for me to explain. Here we go. Like, notice how I can't smooth this edge away. It's just trying to, like, it's staying there regardless of my smooth brush. I'll show you how to fix that. To fix that, you go to brush, go all the way down to smooth brush modifiers, and change your min connected points to 1. So now when you go through and try and smooth here, it'll actually remove area. Just kind of like a little trick. Otherwise, sometimes the edge of your mesh will just stay stuck there, and it can be a little frustrating. All right, so let's turn off solo and go back here. I'll click W for the 3D gizmo, and then I can just expand this by holding Control, and that way it's actually making the shirt fit over her body. I'll go with my inflate brush here, and I'll just kind of paint over any of the areas that aren't working out the way I want them to. Let's see, Kat probably has something helpful to say like usual. Kat says, it's much easier to polish edges on the main part of the extraction if you extract at 0 thickness too. So true. If you have more than 1 layer or any thickness, it might only smooth the top layer or the bottom layer. So when you have no thickness, if you know for sure that you're smoothing out what you're seeing. Alrighty. So you can go ahead and I'll grab this moved brush here. Something that's really helpful that I've only started doing recently is I use the transparency tool under transform. So go here and go transparency, and I can see exactly how the shirt is fitting on her. So I can see right here that it's kind of sitting a little high on her shoulders. So if you guys can see, like there's her body right here. And that's not really natural. It'd probably sit lower because I'm thinking it's like a slim fit shirt. So I can pull that down to actually fit how like a tight long sleeve t-shirt sort of deal would. Now if it's like a bulkier sweater, I would want to go through with my inflate brush and kind of just like make the whole thing just a little bit chunkier. This is also really helpful for posing to make sure that your clothing is fitting the mesh's body. There we go. Something that I see that's a really common mistake when sculpting shirts, on women specifically, is they will pull this down so the shirt fits right under the breast right here. This just doesn't happen. This happens in anime and it happens in manga, but it doesn't happen in real life, I'm sorry to say, unless it's like, it just doesn't. So the way that a shirt is going to pull over someone's breast is they are going to go straight down. So I have transparency on again here. It's actually just gonna go straight down like this and fall off of the body. This will just make the t-shirt or whatever you're sculpting look more natural. Same with this. It's not going to be this like suction cup sort of look. It's really important to understand the way that the fabric is going to interact with the body. So it's a small adjustment, but now I go through and click divide. The shirt is actually looking really nice and it falls naturally. So I can go through with like a fabric brush, make sure I divide a few more times, and I can start adding creases to where they would normally fall. There'd also be some creases on her shoulders, there'd probably one across her back, all that kind of good stuff. Let's also change the color of her shirt so it doesn't look so odd. So there we go. There's a really simple, basic, like pretty loose t-shirt. Really simple. These fabric brushes I have here are from Bad King as well. And then she doesn't have any pants on, so I'm not sure how I'd wrinkle this. That would depend on what she was wearing. But there you go. There's a really simple shirt. And if you want to take your clothing up a level, you can start framing the mesh and doing edge pieces. And I do this in pretty much every model. This is also a huge pro of using 0 thickness. So if I go to solo again, and if I go to, let's see, does it already have thickness? Oh, it does have thickness now. I don't know when that happened. It wasn't supposed to do that. Every now and again, when you extract to 0 thickness, it doesn't actually do it for some reason. I'm not totally sure why. So just be aware of that. Let's see if this trick will still work. It is not going to in this case, and by thickness, I just mean like, see like how her shirt actually exists in a 3D space. This might have happened. I might have to like Dynamesh really quickly without thinking. So I'll just keep in Control Z until I'm towards the beginning here, because I could have sworn this was it. zero thickness at some point. Looks like it wasn't. That explains why I was acting so weird trying to smooth off the edges. That's funny. Anyway, the process is still the same. So let me do another example here to show you guys what it's supposed to look like when it's at zero thickness. I'll keep this little blouse here because it does look nice anyway. Let's see. Kat says cloth always wants to drape downward. So anytime you go over a kind of bump, so hips, cloth draped over equipment, it'll float over that bump and then nearly hang straight down, unless you're sculpting someone in free fall. Pretty much. That is very, very true. I do think it's fine this happened to be sculpted at with thickness. I apologize, I didn't notice that. So if I go all the way back to this beginning piece here, you'll see that I can see both sides of her shirt. So let me show you guys what zero thickness actually looks like. So I'm gonna go to my subtool here and delete her shirt. And now I'll try this again. It's kind of just a bug that happens sometimes. Yeah, so see, this does have thickness. Even though I said 0, it's defaulting into 2. So this, I'm glad this bug is happening because it actually happens somewhat frequently for me. So what I will do is I will just scribble part of the mask. It just kind of like resets, like, oh, okay. Now this is a brand new mask to ZBrush essentially. Except it's still doing it. I don't usually have this problem to this degree. Usually it will figure itself out by now. I apologize. It's always fun when this issue happens whenever I'm like live streaming something because this is the same process I do like every day. Here, I'm pretty sure I know what happened. Occasionally my custom UI will glitch. I'm not sure why, but it's a really common issue from what I read. So if I go to preferences and then go to restore custom UI, you'll notice that this tab came back the way it should. And this will probably work. It's still not. I'm trying to think of why this is being so difficult right now. Let me troubleshoot this for a second, and if it doesn't work, that's fine, I'll just move on. Let's see. I'm going to quickly close and open ZBrush again because it's really just not behaving the way that it's supposed to. Sometimes what will happen if you go to display properties, you'll have double turned on. So what that does is it's showing both sides of your mesh, or as if the normals are flipped both ways. And I will do that sometimes so I actually can see the whole mesh even if it is at zero thickness. So I'm just booting up ZBrush again right now because it's been really weird. I've never had this problem this many times in a row. So sorry about this. It's really not taking too much longer. But yeah, Kat just mentioned you don't have double on display properties, right? She says, yeah, I see double on, make sure to turn that off. Oh no, I think I just saw it and it was off actually. But no worries. Usually double is turned off by default. So unless you have manually turned it on, it shouldn't be on. No big deal. Let me run through here one more time. At least I made one nice blouse for you guys. Kind of like a sweater. Alrighty. I see Terry says, do you mind running through the folds using 3D Gizmo one more time? Sorry, like the third time I've asked. It is, that's okay though, because I do plan to do capes in this demonstration, and I will definitely check that out. So display properties, I see double is turned off. When it's on, it should be highlighted in pink. And let me try my little extract trick one more time. That looks good enough. Going to extract, make sure the thickness is at 0. There we go. All right, so here we go. This is what zero thickness truly looks like. There's nothing in it. You can see it almost looks like there's no back to the model, but there is. And if you go to display properties and click on double, you will now see both sides, even though there's still only one side to it. I'm not gonna do this shirt demonstration again, but I am gonna show you guys how to do dresses. All right, so I'm gonna inflate this just a little bit, change the color. There we go. This is a little easier to see. So what I do for dresses is I make sure that is selected, and I just mask the very bottom of it. Let me Z-remesh this first, actually. There's a lot of Z-remeshing. That's why I have it in my custom UI at the bottom here. All right. Kat says, something in ZBrush turns it on sometimes for me. I haven't caught what it does. I just suddenly noticed it's turned on, and for sure, no, I never touched it. I can relate to that. Terry says, geez, you're so fast at that. I just caught up to this point. I'm glad. Now we're all together. All right, I'm gonna keep Z-remeshing. And of course, guys, this is more of an interactive project day, so if you guys have any like questions or want me to redo things or slow down, just let me know. All right, so now I have this really basic shirt, and I will just mask the bottom here and drag straight down if I'm making a dress. Obviously, my Polygroup Trail dress stretched out, so I'll make sure to Z-remesh one more time, and then I can go through. I usually turn on transparency for this too. And there we go. I want to make sure that these lines are pretty straight because, as I mentioned before, this will hang pretty much right off the body. So these lines should be pretty straight. There we go. It's a pretty good looking dress. Muted myself briefly because I could have swore I was going to sneeze, but I didn't. All right. So here goes a really basic dress here, and that's pretty much how I do it. So if you can make a shirt, you can make a dress. All right, Terry says, I just missed how you drag that down. Okay, so what you do is you go back to your shirt, and you just mask the bottom by holding Control and dragging a box. Click Control and tap to invert the mask, and then just 3D Gizmo, just drag it straight down. There you go. And then I kind of manipulated it, going through with inflate and go on these edges here. I'll say, yeah, I totally missed it too. So yeah, just make sure that you mask the bottom here and then just drag straight down. And of course it's gonna look really weird and stuff because you're dragging it straight down. So make sure you Z-remesh it. I'll go slower for the rest of it. And then go ahead and inflate everything a little bit. There we go. Terry says, wow, so easy, thanks. Yeah, you're welcome. I think it's why I went through it so quickly, because I was like, oh, okay, this is quick. And I forget that it's hard when someone else is doing it in front of you. You get like, watch what they do, then you have to do it. So I apologize for going a little quickly on that. So far we have made a dress and we have made a shirt. I'll show you guys how I would like further detail this by making a belt really quickly too, but less quickly. Okay, so I'll go back to my base mesh, but first I want to make this dress red or something. That way it's not just the same. And if you want to know more about poly painting, just make sure there's a lesson on that as well. So now we have this really nice red dress. Oops. There we go. So if I want to add like a belt right here, what I'll do is I'll go back to the base body, or I can do it on the dress too. I'll do it on the dress actually. And what you're going to do is you're going to mask wherever you want the belt to be. So you can tell it's a little bit messy, and that's fine. I can hold on Shift F to get a better visual of where my mask is at. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then you go ahead, put your thickness to 0 again. And extract. I'm going to inflate this a little bit so it fits her body better, and just like that, you have a little belt piece. So pretty much every step here while making clothes is the same process. It's just going to be masking, extracting, and then Z-remeshing. But if you extract off of something that's already Z-remeshed, like for example, I extract off the body to get the dress, and I Z-remesh the dress. So I don't have to Z-remesh this belt again because it already has really basic, simple topology. It also has thickness. I'm just not fighting ZBrush on this right now. I'll deal with that later. Honest Abe says, I can't find Z-remesher. Is it not in Core? I don't know. It should be. Go to Geometry, and it should be under Dynamesh and Tessellate. It'll say Z-remesher. I would be very surprised if it didn't have it. If it doesn't have it, you could try Decimation. You might have to manually do topology. I'm not totally sure. I will think, if you don't have it, let me know. I'll try to think something else we can do. All right, so that is how I would do a little belt. And then to further detail this dress, I usually add tabards pretty much on everything I do. So I probably just mask that part of the dress. So again, the same process, mask, extract, Ziri mesh. Hey, Arcane is here. Hello, Arcane Octopus. So again, we have masked this area here. I will go to extract, accept. And I usually just click W, 3D Gizmo, hold control, and just inflate this just a little bit so that way it's visible. If it's gonna do the entire dress and cause problems, I'll only do it a little bit, and then I'll go through with my inflate brush and manually tap through the areas that I would like for it to show. This isn't the cutest tabard, but that's okay. You guys get the point. I'll do that kind of a black color. There we go. Now her dress is looking much more interesting. Kat says, Core doesn't have Ziri mesh here. You'd have to retop it manually, which would be tricky. Ooh, that is annoying. It's not necessary. You don't absolutely have to do it. You can keep your topology a little more dense by masking off of this. This already has pretty good topology, honestly, this base mesh here. So it's really not a big deal. Just make sure that whatever you're extracting off of isn't super dense. Like for example, if I Dynamesh her right now, like notice how like her body has like this nice grid on it. And if I go to Dynamesh, it's not gonna have that as much. See how I Dynamesh and it gets like really messy and ridiculous looking? That might cause some problems for you. So just make sure you have a good base mesh like this and it won't affect you that much. So that is my solution. All right. So far we have made a shirt, a dress from a shirt, the belt, and like this tabard piece here. I know I also want to go over how to make a cape, so we'll do that right now too. If you guys have any questions, definitely ask. This is kind of like a demo of me working through this process. And if anyone's watching in the future or presently that has questions, always ask, of course. And if you are super lost and you don't know what's going on, then a Project Day lesson is probably not the best place for you to start, and you should go watch the beginning lessons. But of course, feel free to ask beginner questions still. I have no problem with that. So what I've done is I went to a pen and I grabbed a cube. I then clicked on W for my 3D Gizmo, and I just made it like roughly cape shape. That's good. Click on W again for 3D Gizmo and click on this little gear. You can go to taper, and then you can slowly adjust this to be more of a cape shape. I will also go to bend arc and do the same thing. Kind of bend it out a little bit so it looks a bit nicer. And now I will go to geometry and divide a few times, just so it rounds off the corners, looks nicer. I usually delete them and immediately Dynamesh it anyway, but it prevents it. Here, I'll show you an example. If you guys Dynamesh right away to high resolution, it will keep those subdivision, like those like really basic lines in there, and they're really hard to smooth away. So sometimes what I will do instead is I will divide first, even if I'm going to delete them immediately, just so it's more smoothed out. So when I Dynamesh, I don't have to worry about accidentally preserving those really ugly low topology creases. All right. Honest Abe said, yeah, I was using Dynamesh, but you used Ziri mesh a few times. And I was like, oh, I should probably figure that out. Yeah, at some point. But I understand ZBrush is not the cheapest thing. All right, so now I have my cape here, and I usually go with my move brush to start adjusting it to fit a bit better. I pretty much always have it like wrap into like a cowl or a poncho of some sort. So it is weird to just have it sitting here. So I would probably go to solo. I would mask this little area right here, just so that way I could like pull this around her shoulders. You could put like some like buttons or clasps right here for this to make more sense. There we go, that looks decent. Now I'm gonna show you guys how I do custom folds. So you can go with a fabric brush and just draw a line. And it won't look bad, honestly. It'll actually look pretty good a lot of times. But the problem is when you really want it to be like a custom shape or folds, it can be difficult. So for example, if I just make my brush really big, I will mask this top part because I don't want to affect the entire thing. I'm holding control and tapping on the mask to blur it out a little bit. And I can go ahead and just move this cape over here as if it's like somewhat dramatically moving in the wind. That's good enough for the demo. And what I will do is I will mask wherever I want my first fold to be. So that's probably a good place for the first fold. It's gonna be kind of like a little triangle shape, and I'll blur it a bunch of times. You'll see why in a second. Go ahead and invert the mask by holding control and tapping. Go to your 3D gizmo by clicking W and then click Y. You'll get this transpose line. You can draw it wherever you want. In this case, draw it along this line and then hold spacebar and go to rotate. This is the last step, I promise. Once you are here, grab this center white circle and drag straight down. And you'll get this really, really nice crease that starts to form here. So there you go. It doesn't look super impressive when you only have one, but as you draw more and more of them, it will start to look much better. So I will start doing a few of these really quickly. So just with having two, you can already tell how much better that looks. And you can see why I mask it, so like try and blur the mask as much as possible. So that way it doesn't look too harsh. Like for instance, right here doesn't look super good. So I'll use my smooth brush to fix that. All right, that's already looking really nice. And if you want to go through further and clean up these wrinkles that you have done and make them like just transition better, you can go in with a Dam Standard and your inflate brush. I probably have a little bit too many polygons here. There we go. This obviously looks a lot like blurrier overall, but it'll be a lot easier for me to clean up the general shape here. And then once I like what I have and click divide, and it will look just as smooth and just as nice as before. Also, that will paint very nicely. I did it a little harsher than I probably wanted to. These are a little too deep, I think. But overall, it looks pretty nice. I will give her cape a super dark black color. There we go. This is already looking pretty interesting. As you can tell, the creases did not go on the back side. You can prevent that, say if you wanted the whole thing to be creased on both sides and to kind of like match. What you could do is you could change to this mask lasso brush. And when you do this, it will mask both sides. Just in case it's what you wanted. All right, there we go. Getting through this pretty well. All right. Terry says, I think so, got it back up and just finished remaking the dress. Oh, because yeah, you mentioned your Windows is being super slow. Yeah, sorry that's happening. Windows can suck. On the plus side, this is recorded, so if you're watching this in the future, hello. Way to be dedicated. Alrighty. So this is looking really good already, and usually just making small details is what really makes this pop. So for example, if I go to IMM Clothing, they have a lot of different buttons and stuff, so I can grab like these little clasps right here. And I can put these on to really make the cape make sense and see like how it's fastened on. Alrighty. Looks pretty good. It's so weird not to see her with hair or anything. I'm gonna show you a few more details about how to like dress up the dress and detail it, because I think that was a proper zero thickness. Awesome, it is. So when you're at like true zero thickness, there's a few different things you can do. One of the things you can do is you can frame your mesh. And when your mesh is framed, you can then take curved brushes, for example, this curved strap or this scale brush that is somewhere down here, right here, and you can put a trim on it. I'll show you guys both. So this is the curved strap brush. Normally it just does this, just adds straps. But if I tap on this after framing the mesh, it will automatically put these on here really nicely. And I can mask them, make them as big or as small as I want. I use this constantly. What's also really nice about it is the topology is by default really simple, so it's easy to really like change it whatever you want it to be. and it masks the rest of the mesh. So if I hold Control and tap, you'll see that it's its own masked piece. So I can go through here and get a subtool and go to split, and I can make it its own split piece like this. So see how the brush, not the brush, the dress and the little cuff links are separate. What's also really cool is you can do this once you've added thickness too, and I do that sometimes. So if you go to Geometry, Edge Loop, and then check out panel loops right here. I will add 5 panel loops, sounds fine. And then I can go to, I put 0 bevel, negative 100 elevation, and 0 for polish as well. I do negative 100 elevation because I want the thickness to be added towards her body, not away from it. So I'm not trying to make her dress appear chunkier or thicker. I just want to make sure there's any thickness so it'll 3D print. And then click panel loops. So this is the before, and then clicking panel loops, you'll see that there's now thickness to the dress. If I click Shift F, you'll be able to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, I miscounted. And that's just this loops right here. So if I did like 10 loops, there would be 10 different little spaces to count on. So what's cool now is if I click frame mesh again, it will grab every single one of these. This can be helpful because occasionally I add trim to armor pieces that are facing downwards, and I don't want the trim to be stuck on this far edge. I want it to be towards the middle, laying flat. And I'll show you guys what I'm talking about right now. So I clicked on the far edge, right? And so it's kind of tilted right now. But if I were to go in the center here, it's gonna lay flat on that edge. So when I inflate that instead, it's doing much, it looks much better, and it's really what I want. So recently I've been waiting to add trim pieces until after I've added my thickness through panel loops. So again, just a demonstration. If I added my curve strap brush to this far edge, how it normally would be when there's not thickness, it doesn't sit nearly as nicely. See how like wavy it is? Because it's just not doing the same thing. But if I go towards the center here, I have a lot more control, and it's just gonna look a lot nicer and smoother in general. Oops, I keep moving my dress by accident. Here we go. It's just looking much nicer. This is also especially important when you're doing more complicated trims. And by more complicated trims, I mean the scale brush. I use this probably too often at this point. So the scale brush is fantastic, but I notice it does tend to add a lot of polygons by default. Like, yeah, ZBrush is having an issue right now. It might crash, we'll see what it wants to do. But whenever you have pieces like that are for lace or just anything that's more complicated, it might have a much harder time with it laying flat if you don't give it these panel loops to lay flat against. ZBrush is thinking about this for a second. That's a-okay. All right, I see we've been going for about 30 minutes, which is awesome. So especially at this point, if you guys have questions or curious, like, oh, what about this, what about this? Definitely ask. I'm still keeping it pretty fast paced. That way, if you guys are rewatching this, it feels super tedious and slow. I'd rather you guys rewatch pieces than have to just stick with a super slow explanation. All right, looks like ZBrush is having a major issue with this. This is something I've noticed that happened recently. I used to be able to add this scale brush and it wouldn't be super high detail and dumb, but recently it has been doing that. I will troubleshoot that in my own time as well. It's always something with ZBrush. Let's see, so far we've done the dress, adding trim pieces, the belt, the tabard, the cape, and how to do creases. I didn't show how to do pants. It's exactly the same as doing a shirt, but I will show it anyway. If there's anything else you guys kind of were hoping that I would do, definitely let me know and I can run through that as well. Let's see. Honest Abe says, what menu are you in? I was working on the belt. I was also under Subtool, and that specific one is under Geometry. Panel loops anyway. Let me just go back to where I was. To where I love quick save, so I didn't lose anything. Here we go. And yeah, just to show you, Geometry, Edge Loop. Right here. So it's all under the tool menu, and it's under geometry, which is next to subtool. All right, so I'm gonna do pants really quickly. So doing pants, it's really important that if it's for a guy, there's a few things that you need to change, and I'll show you guys. So you mask what you want like usual. You gotta extract and click accept. But let me change the color here really quick. There we go. Oh, I forgot what I was doing. All right, so I will inflate this a little bit. These are very, very tight, skinny pants, which you do see on women, but you do not see them on men generally. So to make this look better, there's a few things you'd want to do. The first, kind of just lowering the crotch in general. And then you are going to want to make them a bit more bell-bottomed. They're not going to grab onto their calves like this. So you just grab your inflate brush. I'm not sure what is going on with that. That's interesting. There we go. Just gonna smooth that out. You just want to inflate the edges and then pull them down. Making sure they go over the foot. And then kind of just going straight down off the calf. If you go to transform transparency, you'll see what I'm talking about. It won't curve back into the calf. It'll just go straight down from the far, like the widest girth part of the calf, if that makes sense. All right. So this is looking much, much better and not so impossibly skin tight. And it still looks great on women too. Just make sure if you're ever sculpting pants on men especially, you're going to want to lower this crotch point and you're going to make sure that they're not clinging to their calves. It's just going to look much, much better. It looks very disco on her in this case because she has wide hips. Obviously on the male model, it's going to look more like this. So there you go, that's how I do pants. And I usually don't end up doing a lot of trim pieces because either the boots are covering it or there's a shirt covering the belt and that kind of stuff. But there you go, there are pants. I know this is a ton of information, so if you're feeling a little overwhelmed right now, don't forget that one, you can always rewatch this, but also two, I'm pretty much just doing the same thing again and again with small variations, and that is mask what you want, extract, and then move it around. Either Z-remesh it to help you do that, or just grab your move brush, that kind of stuff. If you want to detail stuff, you can always go to stroke and then frame mesh. I'm sorry, I clicked on my custom UI button here instead earlier in this demo. I totally forgot. Sorry. So it'd be stroke, frame mesh. And then that's how you're gonna get your edges in order to use your curve strap brushes and put on there. And then the other last thing that I touched on was where edge loops are, which is under geometry, right here. So it's under the edge loop tab, but I'm not using edge loops, I'm using panel loops, just to clear up that possible confusion. Oh, poor Terry. And ZBrush crashed. Terry says, yes, awesome. I really like this kind of lesson. I'm way behind, but I'll get there. In the future, the lessons are probably gonna be a lot more like this, where they're like project days. Because at this point, I pretty much told you guys all the basics. The previous 15 lessons, I've had 2 of those lessons being review, but the other 13 are just like, here's brushes, here's alphas, deformers, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're about to get into some really exciting stuff. But again, if you are watching this and this is like, you just signed up for my Patreon and this is the first lesson you're watching, you're like, oh my God, this is so hard. Don't worry. Go back to earlier lessons. I did them in that order for a reason, and that should help. And if it doesn't, message me. I will help directly. Kat says, oh no, Terry, did you have autosave turned on at a short interval so you didn't lose much? Terry says, I hope so. So if you don't know what they're talking about, if you go to preferences and go to quick save, you can change the interval of how frequently ZBrush will save. I have it every 2 minutes because I'm crazy. And it crashes all the time. And I hate losing more than 2 minutes of work. I've done 1 minute before, but it was just it was ridiculous. So if ZBrush ever crashes, you can click on comma to pull up Lightbox, and then go to quick save. And then here you go. You can scroll through and you can see I have a lot that has been saved. And here are all the different quick saves that have been done just for this one 30-minute lesson that I've had. So yes. All right. I think I covered everything that I intended to, but we'll see. I might get some more that I want to do. Abe says, I may watch the next project day at slower playback speed. I hyper focus on steps and then look up and then there's a whole ass cape. Yeah. That's why I think it's the best way to watch it. You can see it happen live and it flows really well, but if you're gonna, like, the best way to sculpt along definitely is like watch it happen, spacebar to pause it, sculpt a bunch, spacebar, and then go back. I thought about just talking a lot slower, but I figured that would make this like an hour-long session. I wouldn't be able to cover as much. And don't worry, I don't think you were being rude or anything like that. But I know how you feel. It's like you look back up and it's like, oh, and she's done. Kat says, I said 2 minutes too. I used to have it at 5, but that was too much to lose. Demotivating. I agree. And then Terry's laughing and he agrees with Honest Abe, being like, oh, and it's done. I think it felt the same way when I was doing the hair tutorial, which is lesson 11, I think. And yeah, people looked up and they were like, oh, and you're done. Which I totally understand if it can be frustrating, just trust me, this is probably the best way. On the plus side, I'm hanging out for probably another 10 minutes or so. If you guys have questions as you're working through it, just message me in the Discord and just share your work in progress and the different things that you've made, and I can help with that too. I'm pretty happy with what's been made though. If there's anything else that you guys are like, hey, can you just make this really quickly so that way when I rewatch this, I can see that as well, let me know and I can make that right now. If not, probably sign off pretty soon. But yeah, we got a lot done this lesson. In 40 minutes, we made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 different things, which is awesome. Terry says, no, it's definitely better. It's clear and concise. I'd much rather have lots covered, and it's only overwhelming to begin with. Very true. Abe says, let me get these polygons smashed just like I want. Abe says, I'm just going to post what I have in the chat after stream. Awesome. Terry says, me too. Sounds good. All right. I think this looks pretty good. If you guys want me to do another, I plan to do more project days, but if you guys want the next topic to be on armor or maybe hairstyles again, or maybe blocking out creatures, I'll be doing a lot more live demo stuff. Also, I know I work super fast and it can be hard to follow, but you'll get there too, so don't worry. I'm also obsessed with efficiency and working as fast as possible, so hopefully that will rub off on you guys too. This is gonna sound super snotty, but it's okay because you guys are my people. There are some artists I really admire, and I've watched their live streams, and I'm not kidding, guys. It was a 3-hour live stream, and at the beginning and the end, I could barely tell what he had changed. And though his work is beautiful and intricate, oh, I said he. It's okay, they're all guys. You guys don't know who it is. I was just like, how did it take you so long? I don't want to be that person. If I work professionally especially, it's work quickly. Anyway. All right, Honest A says, real quick, how do you make things be different colors? Let me show you. So it's really annoying, good start, because whenever you change the color, it will change the color of the whole damn model if you don't have colors set. So it's not doing it right now because I have colors set on these. But I'm just letting you know, if you hold spacebar and pick some colors here, it's gonna change all of them. So have your color palette here. Let me do switch color. Have your color palette docked because it's easier, or you can go right here to pick your colors and just go to fill object and it will change the color of whatever your object is. There's a whole lesson on it. I think it's lesson 13. I have no idea. I've done so many at this point. But I have a poly painting lesson that will go over this in great detail. But yeah, it just be fill object. Just another reminder, it will change the color. For instance, if you click green, the entire model and all of her pieces will be green, but it won't actually be changing them. If you go to subtool, you'll see what the color truly is. Just letting you know. It'll make more sense if I could show you, but I already selected color, so now it's not doing it. But yeah, those are fantastic questions. Kat says, yeah, I don't do this professionally, so I waste an awful lot of time on things that don't even matter. I sculpted in the back muscles my total for practice during the stream. They'll be covered. That's great. And that's the thing, like, if you're doing it for fun, do it for fun, you know? Like, absolutely don't worry about rushing, you know? But I know there's a handful of you guys that do want to do this professionally, and I want to make sure I equip you guys the best I can for that. Kat says it would have been a total waste of time if I was doing this for production, but for me, it's just an opportunity to practice. Which is honestly, even as a professional, like, I do that sometimes too, just because it's fun to do things that are literally just for me, like I'm just working on it for the sake of working. So yeah. This was a really fun lesson. It was much more fun than me explaining brush size. I will explain brush size and brushes to you guys all day, but it's much more fun for me to actually make stuff. Also, I have a live stream set up again, as you guys can tell. So I'll be doing live streams Monday, Wednesday, Friday again. My desktop is still not working, and I will probably not see them until March because they ordered it in parts and didn't tell me. I had to call to find out. They're like, oh yeah, we're working on it. I'm like, thanks for telling me. So they had to outsource the parts or something. I don't know, but at least they're ordering parts already, which is cool. So it sounds like they already know it's a power supply, so that's good. All right. Honest A says, thanks, Mia. That's the week I skipped and didn't watch. Not a worry. But I gotta say, pretty much everyone's here. I can see there's like five people watching right now, and most of you guys are talking in the comments. You guys have been super active and dedicated to this, and I've been so proud to see everyone's progress and work, and I'm just so proud of you guys. I get people that join this tier all the time and just don't have time, and they end up canceling, and they didn't learn anything, and I don't take it personally, but I'm like, man, I wish you learned something. So I'm really glad that you guys are getting value out of this and putting the work in. Because if you just watch me do it, you're not gonna learn anything. But I know that learning is hard. And doing things you're not good at is not fun usually. So thank you guys for working with each other and making it more fun, because that's exactly why I made this tier. And for money. But yeah. Alright, Terry says glad to hear it's an easy fix. Me too. I'm really, really hoping it'll just be like fixed that day, because I missed my dumb gigantic screen. I got used to it. Anyway, guys, I'm probably gonna call this one good. We're at 47 minutes here, and I'm glad this is a full lesson. I'll be doing more of these for sure. And yeah, I will see you guys next week. If you have a topic you'd like me to make a bunch of stuff about, probably not weapons, I'm not super good at those yet. But you could ask for it, maybe I'll learn. Anyway, put it in the Discord, and I will make that lesson next Sunday. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.